What's going on, my friends? Hope you're having a good day, and I hope you're having a good week. As always, I want to talk about, just give you a little bit of update about the doctor video I did yesterday that's going somewhat viral. I just wanted to explain how their website got taken down as well, Squarespace, and also just talk about, the censorship that's going on, why they're doing it, why they say they're doing it, and also the, the cons along with the pros that they already talk about. Of why it's a little bit problematic, as some would say. The second thing I want to talk about was the Barr hearing. To be quite honest, I didn't watch any of it. It seems like dramatic WWE style stuff. You got Democrats, you got Republicans. It's just, those hearings are usually not my thing. But I do have a great clip of Barr, and I want to play it. It's a 30-second clip, and it really shows the divide in the country right now. You have Democrats just feel this way, Republicans feel away. And it's very divided, and I want to play this Barr clip. And basically, it's like if you get what he's saying, it's very simple. If you don't, it's going to be a long road. Third thing I want to talk about today is a few of President Trump's tweets. He was going off on Twitter. I like to joke. I say he's like Drake. If you guys don't know, Drake's a hip hop artist. He has more #1 hits than the Beatles now, I believe. But Trump's like the Drake of Twitter. Everything he drops is a hit. So I woke up this morning, he had like 10 tweets going off. I want to talk about what he's talking about. He's talking about big tech censorship. He also passed an executive order to end something Obama did when it comes to, neighborhoods and, I guess housing. I'll talk about that. And then also his pharmacy bill that he passed that the media is not really covering. And I have a really great clip of a former Democrat, I believe he's from Georgia, talking to MSNBC. So we got some fun stuff today. Appreciate y'all for being here. We'll hang out. I'll drink some coffee for a little bit, but that's the show. And thank you guys. I haven't gone live in a while because I've been cranking out these other videos. And I think yesterday's video has over 1 million views, and it had over 1 million views in like 7 hours. I haven't checked it recently, but very appreciative. Thank you guys for watching. And I'm steady working hard, so I'm excited to be live. Nevada, what's going on? Will, what's going on? God bless you. Deanna. What's up, Tammy? Georgios, God bless. I've been making my own coffee with the Chemex filter. This is not an ad. I've been using it. So good. So much better than the other coffee. Fritz, what's going on? God bless you. Someone said, yeah, they're wiping it off of all social media, so we're going to talk about that. What's up, William? God bless you. How you doing? What's up, Roger? Someone tried to make me lose my job. I'm sorry to hear that. Someone said that doctor is a wacko. I wouldn't go to her with a headache. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it. I did the whole video. I really think, for the full picture, the last video, I'm not trying to tout myself, but I really worked hard. I think it's a fantastic, really breakdown of what's going on and what they're missing. I guess we'll just start. I don't want to hold you guys up. What's up, Baxter? God bless you. Brandy, what's up? My homebrewed coffee is just so strong. It's so good. Not strong, like over strong. Delicious. Delicious, delicious, delicious. So if you guys didn't see my doctor video, I would suggest checking it out. I did a good breakdown of what happened and all the parts they missed. So there's a video of a bunch of frontline doctors. They went to Washington, D.C. They said their piece, what they disagreed with the media narrative, and it was getting super, super viral. They deleted it off Instagram, they're deleting it off Facebook, they're deleting it off Twitter, they're banning, accounts like Donald Jr. or PragerU who are posting it. Basically, they're trying to wipe this video from existence. Now, I'm going to be fair about it. I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can be because, of course, a lot of people on the right wing are trying to say hydroxychloroquine and they're posting it all over the place. The left wing says take it down, they're witch doctors, whatever. So I just want to be fair. First of all, the problem with deleting the whole video, like I stated in the last video, and they took down their Squarespace. I mean, they're not just deleting the video. It's like they're trying to wipe these people from existence. Any aspect of anything that they said. I understand the most controversial part, and also ironically or non-coincidentally, the most viral part of that video was, I believe, Dr. Stella Emanuel, who is very, very energetic, and she was very hyped up, and she made some pretty strong claims off of what she saw at her own, at her own practice, and she went, the distance. And I understand why people might disagree with her, because she was strong and she did make some big claims. But here, outside of that, there's all sorts of debates we could have. But I really want to hold down why I think it's really messed up that they're wiping this stuff off the internet. We could have a total conversation about what she said. I don't want to do that right now. But besides what she said, like I covered in my last video, there were so many other doctors that talked about schools, that talked about fear, that talked about stuff that's not even controversial. And now what they did was they totally wiped that video off the internet. And what this really is rewriting history. So you take a 45-minute live stream off of every social media platform and you make sure it doesn't exist anywhere. And then what they do on YouTube and Google is the algorithms are rigged, so you only get their news sources at the top. So the actual press conference, regardless of what you think about it, whether it's Stella Emanuel or the other doctors or anything, you can't find it. It's almost impossible to find. Of course you could find it, I'm sure, but they're trying to make it hard to find, and then they boost their people to the top. Breitbart News did an analysis recently, and they've seen their traffic drop off almost exponentially. They're hiding right-wing news outlets in many ways in the algorithm, and left-wing news outlets get to the top. So the reason this is problematic, besides what you think of what she said, is it's rewriting history. Now when you go to search for the event, all you can find, or most of what you can find, is their opinion of what she said. It's a character assassination on Dr. Stella. It's saying that that's what was said, and the whole conference was about not wearing masks and how hydroxychloroquine was a cure. That's not what the whole conference was about. That's what 1 minute of a 45-minute press conference was about. It was probably the smallest part. It's just she has so much energy that it went viral. People really related to that. But that's not what it was about. So they're rewriting history, and they're digitally burning books. This is, a huge problem for that reason. That's why censorship is bad. So this is a game that they do when it comes to Trump or Biden as well. It's hard to find a speech of Trump or Biden. What you find when you search on Google and YouTube, and it's not organic, it's not like a well-programmed algorithm to let the best people go to the top. It's an algorithm program so you only get a few corporate news stations because they consider them trustworthy even though they're not. So you can't even find a Trump speech. All you can find is somebody telling you what Trump said. I don't want to hear what somebody said about Trump. I want to hear what he says. And then I have the capacity to agree with him or disagree with him. I want to hear Dr. Emanuel, and then I have the capacity to agree or disagree with her. I understand why they might not like that clip, but at bare minimum, and I'm not saying that they should do this, but if that was the clip that was really problematic, what they could do was censor that clip out and put the whole live stream back so everybody could see the other 45 minutes. Once again, I don't agree with censorship, but I'm just saying it's so unfair to wipe an entire historical event off the map, off of social media, take down their whole organization because of what one person said for 1 minute. All I'm asking for is equal treatment. And this is, they say they want to elevate black voices, but they really want to elevate black liberal voices who agree with the narrative, not a Christian doctor who seems to go against the grain. And I'm not saying she's 100% right. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But the point I'm trying to get to is there's not equal treatment. When MSNBC made a bunch of mistakes on Russiagate, they didn't get their social media taken down. When, CNN was forced to retract multiple narratives, they didn't get their social media taken down. ABC or one of those main networks, I forget which one, the guy made an error so bad that it temporarily tanked the stock market. I mean, it had an economic impact. His lie was so big, they don't get taken off of social media, so there is no equal treatment. It's like, if you're going to treat that doctor that way, what about, like I said in my last video, there's a Newsweek article claiming the same thing she claimed with a Yale epidemiologist that has 300 peer-reviewed papers. So it's like, how come they can say it but you can't say it? But that's the world that we live in. It's like, if they say it, it's fine. If you say it, it's bad. And I'm not backing up 1,000% of what she said, but what I am saying is, real quick, is they're wiping it off of social media completely. And why this is problematic is they're rewriting history. You have a 45-minute speech with all different perspectives, all different doctors, all different opinions, many of which are statistics that were provided to us by Johns Hopkins, CDC. A lot of what they said outside of Stella wasn't even really controversial. It was pretty, on par with what you're hearing on corporate news, and they wiped it off, and now they're telling you if you search for it, it was all about hydroxychloroquine, it was all about Dr. Stella, it was all about not wearing masks. That's not what the press conference was about. I watched it myself. That's like 1% of a 100% story. So this really, makes you question, before I move on, history in general. I mean, I like history and I believe certain things, but at the same time, if they write the history books, they're going to say that Trump had concentration camps at the border. They're going to say he's out here just destroying people's lives left and right. But if a, more libertarian or conservative or even Elon Musk writes history, he's not going to tell that story. So it's like history's written by the victors. And right now, there's two different worlds people are living in. It's like this world or this world. And they're not even remotely similar. It's pretty bizarre. Let me know your thoughts, but I'm going to play this clip real quick. This is a Vernon Davis. I'm going to flip my thing. It's on MSNBC. Vernon Davis is a Democrat. He's actually in some sort of position. I'm not quite sure which government position he's in, but he recently, over the last year or two, turned to President Trump. So he's a Democrat who supports the president. So, of course, it's not going to be popular amongst his own party, but he goes on MSNBC. I think he handles himself well. We'll watch it. Let me know your thoughts, and then I'm going to tell you some stuff about what I think about it. But it's a very interesting 2 minutes here. Let me play it real quick. Hold on 1 second.
On the right have acknowledged that he inherited from the previous administration.
Well, that's fake news.
Well, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
If you look at the unemployment among African Americans during his years and during the Obama years, clearly it was much better. If you look at opportunity zone districts, if you look at support and financial support to historical colleges, clearly it's better off under his administration than the previous administration. So, I don't want to get caught into politics.
Well,
just because I'm a Democrat, my party feels though that
I like to traffic in facts, and much of what you just said is patently false. But I do want to. Representative Jones, this is my show. I'll ask questions. Give me a second.
You had me on your show.
I know, but
don't cut me off.
I'm not cutting you off, but I do want. Are you a paid campaign surrogate? Are you being compensated?
Let me be clear. You get paid to shape a liberal narrative. You get paid to attack this president.
It's
I don't get a dime for this president. I don't get a dime from the campaign. Everything I've done is in me and based on my principles. And see, that's the problem. When an African American that's elected official,
did not raise your
Let me finish now. Let me finish.
Whoa, you're not going to imply that I asked that question because you're black.
So don't ask me that. You only ask me that because I don't fit your narrative. No, this president never offered anything. I don't want anything from this president. It's what I can do for my country. And you need to accept that many other African Americans and others support this president because of his policies. And to insult me to say, am I getting paid?
I've asked the same question. I've asked the same question of Democrats who come on.
MSNBC and their narrative to keep blacks silent who happen to support this president. Why can't I be like white liberals or other whites? Nobody questions they're getting paid. So I have to get paid. Do you ask Democrats? Do they get paid?
I just said if you
paid by Joe Biden.
I just said
have
to you.
Have you ever asked any host that they've been paid by Joe Biden?
State Representative Vernon Jones. Representative Jones, thank you. Do come back. An open invitation.
All right, so hold on 1 second. Just going to turn it off real quick. So a few things with that, very interesting. First of all, he's not going to be popular on MSNBC. He's a black Democrat who supports the president. Those are 3 no-nos on their network. But I think he handled himself wonderfully. First of all, he said, are you paid to support the president? And here's the funniest thing. He's a Democrat, a working Democrat, who's going against the grain. It's very hard as a black American to support the president. It's very hard as an American to support the president. And it's very hard for a black Democrat to support the president. So there is really not a lot of social or incentive there to support the president. And then you have an MSNBC news journalist say, are you paid to do it? And he has the perfect response. He says, you're paid to push a liberal narrative. So if you're a Democrat and you support the president, it's hard to even work anywhere. If you work for MSNBC and you decide to support the president, imagine being MSNBC and having a change of heart. Imagine just being like Elon Musk and be like, you know what, the left went too far left. I consider myself more conservative. You can't work there. So he flipped it on him perfectly. He said, I'm not paid to say this. You're paid to do what you do. And if he had a change of heart, he wouldn't be allowed to work there. If you look at MSNBC or CNN, they don't have really any diversity of thought. You look on Fox News, half of them are liberal now. You got Don Williams, all these people who are or Juan Williams, constantly bashing the president on Fox News. Who on CNN or who works for MSNBC that gets 30 minutes to support the president? I don't know if anyone exists. I don't know if they're allowed to exist. So fantastic work by Vernon Jones there. And then at the end, or at the beginning, I have to find it funny. And I don't know how many people still really buy this. For instance, listen, I'm not a huge Obama hater. I think there's pros and cons to what he did. Bush, Clinton, everybody's got pros, everybody's got cons. Personally, I'm not a Bush, Obama, Clinton guy. I'm not a fan of any of them. But I could be honest about things that they did, things that they didn't do. You know, for instance, Clinton, as much as people hate him, the national debt or his impact on the national debt, from what I've read, was actually pretty decent among other presidents. You got to look into it yourself. But the point I'm getting to, just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean you lie about everything. So I find it hilarious that they say when Trump does something good, they say it came from the Obama era. So Trump, unemployment's, lower, all this stuff is going good. Oh, it's just carryover from Obama. But then when something goes bad, they blame Trump for something that's been there for 30 years. They've talked about border security for 10 years. It's Trump's fault. Kids in cages started at the Obama administration. It's Trump's fault. Joe Biden's been there for 30, 40 years. He passed crime bills. Trump does prison reform, but it's his fault. It's laughable, like, who actually believes this stuff anymore? It's like, if you think things carry over from the Obama administration, that's fine, but at least be consistent. It's the same logic of like, we can't do group gatherings. Okay, that's your logic. No group gatherings. Group gatherings spread coronavirus. But if liberals do group gatherings, we're going to figure out a way to not be that mad at it because we think that, it's okay for us to gather. It's like, who are you kidding? So everything good that happens is an Obama thing. Everything bad that happens, no matter how long it's been there, is a Trump thing. Do people really believe this stuff? I'm not sure. I want to play this clip of General Barr real quick because to me, hold on one second. To me, this really puts it in line. Like, if you understand what Bill Barr is saying, if you understand what he's talking about, you're probably going to vote Republican this year. And if what Bill Barr's talking about is a foreign language to you, then you're probably still a Democrat or watching liberal news. I'm not trying to make it so black and white, but it pretty much is. Listen to it. I got a 30-second clip. It's really simple for me to understand, but apparently this is like, shocking people's minds. This was, to me, the best clip I've seen from the whole thing. Here you go.
Since when is it okay to try to burn down a federal court? If someone went down the street to the Partisan court here, that beautiful courthouse we have right at the bottom of the hill, and started breaking windows and firing industrial-grade fireworks in to start a fire, throw kerosene balloons in and start fires in the court, is that okay? Is that okay now? No, the U.S. Marshals have a duty to stop that and defend the courthouse, and that's what we are doing in Portland. We have the obligation to protect federal courts, and the U.S. Marshals specifically
play it again.
Have been given that obligation.
One more time.
Since when is it okay to try to burn down a federal court? If someone went down the street to the Partisan court here, that beautiful courthouse we have right at the bottom of the hill, and started breaking windows and firing industrial-grade fireworks in to start a fire, throw kerosene balloons in and start fires in the court, is that okay? Is that okay now? No, the U.S. Marshals have a duty to stop that and defend the courthouse, and that's what we are doing in Portland. We have the obligation to protect federal courts, and the U.S. Marshals specifically have been given that obligation. Since when is it okay?
All right, so everything's become political in this country. People hate Trump so much they can't agree on anything. During the Obama era, before that, there were certain things that were just common sense, basic Americana, basic like survival tactics that everyone agreed on, certain basic principles of living in America. And this has now become an issue that splits the country, which is why Elon Musk said the left is losing the middle. It's true. Listen, I have 20 things that I could complain about that Trump and Republicans are doing, but none of which the liberals care about. And I'm not, once again, it's like, if you could listen to what he just said, they're burning a federal building. Before the federal agents got there in Portland, you could find videos for 50 days. They were vandalizing a federal building, a courthouse. They were setting fires in areas. They were taking over a federal building. And he said, since when is that okay? So this is the divide in the country right now. It's not even left and right. It's like right and wrong, true and false. And certain people hate the president so much that they can't figure it out. If right-wingers are destroying federal property, I don't care that they're right-wing. Those are terrorists. Terrorists destroy federal property. They attack courthouses. That's political violence. That's, political terrorism. Trying to get your way politically by setting fire to a government building. Hello? But only one side of the political debate understands that now. Isn't that just weird? Only Bill Barr understands it, and Trump and Republicans and liberals can't seem to understand it. You have Chris Hayes and all of these Democrat-leaning media figures saying, oh my goodness, people are getting arrested. What for? Well, the guy who got arrested in the video was destroying police cameras and trying to hide evidence of other stuff they were doing. That's domestic terrorism. That's a crime. A crime at minimum, domestic terrorism at maximum. They're causing violence. They're attacking federal property. They're attacking law enforcers for political reasons. And Democrats can't figure it out. CNN can't figure it out. MSNBC can't figure it out. Ralph Nader can't figure it out. Nobody seems to be able to figure it out. Isn't that just weird? And it shouldn't even be that hard. I wouldn't care if it was right-wingers doing it. And here's the lies of all lies that they're telling. I follow some people, including, God bless her soul, one of my favorite teachers in college is super Democrat and super liberal. I love her, but she's got a Democrat skew. I still follow her on Twitter, and she's sharing articles, get this, that it's actually secretly right-wingers committing all this terrorism. It's right-wingers that are setting the fires. It's right-wingers that are smashing buildings. So they've actually convinced themselves that it's not a bunch of left-wing communist anarchists who are committing this violence. It's right-wingers trying to frame them. But here's the lie of all lies. Okay, let's say that's true. Let's assume that that's happening. You have right-wing groups trying to frame left-wing groups. Wouldn't you want the police to arrest them? Wouldn't you want federal agents to arrest them if they're right-wing domestic terrorists? Wouldn't you want them to be identified so then we could see, oh my God, it's actually right-wingers doing the violence. Simultaneously, they're saying it's not us, but they're cheering it on. We're not doing it, but we agree with it. We're not the ones burning the buildings, but we want the buildings to burn. We don't want the lootings to happen, but we know why they're happening. It's because people are struggling. It's not us, it's the right-wingers. Okay, let's get the right-wingers then. No, don't arrest us. They're such liars. It's mind-boggling lies. And these are smart, educated people who I know are good people at the heart. If it's right-wing terrorists framing left-wingers, let's arrest them. They don't want to be arrested because they know it's not right-wingers, it's them. They agree with it. Right-wingers don't agree with this stuff. Trump supporters don't agree with this stuff. Republicans don't want federal buildings to be terrorized. Only the left wing does. Chris Hayes makes excuses for it. Ralph Nader doesn't see it. It's all Democrats either lying about it, providing cover for it, or promoting it. And then when you say it's happening, they say it's not us, it's them. Then we'll arrest them. No, don't arrest them, it's us. How do they sleep at night? How do they believe themselves? At what point do they wake up out of this matrix of lies and be like, nothing I say makes sense. I think the virus spreads in big groups, but I want to do big groups because when my big groups happen, it makes sense. But when your big groups happen, it's really bad. You know, it's the terrorism is coming from the right wing, but we don't want anybody to be arrested, and we're going to attack law enforcement. We're going to attack federal agents. We're going to justify that, and then we're going to expect crime to go down. And then when crime doesn't go down, we're going to blame it on the right wing. Who believes this stuff? So when Elon Musk said the left is losing the middle, the left is moving the middle. Barack Obama won 2 terms. Barack Obama enforced border security. Do you know why? Because border security has been popular for 20, 30 years. I mean, you could find videos. If I had time, I do. I could find you a video of Chuck Schumer, who was more aggressive than President Trump was on border security. So is everyone. Obama didn't defund the police. If he would have, he wouldn't have won. So these ideas are super radical. They're not popular. Crime's rising. They blame it on other people. And then when you say, let's get the other people, they say, no, actually, it's us. We don't want you to. So it doesn't make any sense. I want them to arrest terrorists, whether they're left-wing or right-wing. They say they support left-wing ones, but then they say they're secretly right-wing. But then when you go to get them, they're not right-wing anymore. How do they believe themselves? It's mind-boggling that they still actually buy what they're talking about. I'm going to read a few Trump tweets real quick, and then I'm going to answer some questions. And I'll see what you guys are talking about. But I just want to go off because a lot of this stuff isn't covered. Trump recently challenged Big Pharma and lowered drug prices, or claimed to lower drug prices. You got to see how it works for you. And this is something that a lot of progressives don't understand. They want to do universal health care. And universal health care, regardless of what you think of it, it's government health care. So they get rid of private insurance. You're not allowed to opt out. They tax you and you get a penalty if you don't pay. I know that because if you live in California, you get taxed even if you don't want their health insurance. You know what? I'm going to go holistic. I'm going to go to a chiropractor. I still get, they charge you. But the point I'm getting to is you don't need to do a single government takeover in order to lower prices. Trump's trying to do it from the right, but no one's giving him credit. So here's a tweet he had recently because he's actually going hard at Big Pharma. Finally, he said, "The drug companies are spending millions of dollars in advertising against me only because I'm lowering drugs massively, 50% and more. Biden and Obama said they would do this for 8 years, but never did. With Biden, drug prices will quadruple." Sorry, I got to read it. "After many years, the game is finally up for Big Pharma, and they're not happy about it. Please understand that when you see negative ads." So he's taking on Big Pharma, and they're not pumped about it. And if you've done any sort of research, even listen to Bernie, a lot of the drugs we have, they charge us more than they charge Canada. They charge us more than they charge Mexico. We're getting gouged. And if you watch our media, these same media figures that tell you that they care about your COVID-19 health, they're selling you bad sodas and bad alcohol and bad drinks that are filled with sugar. They're selling you horrible processed foods and things that lead to obesity. Obesity in the world and preventable, health consequences from not taking care of yourself is going to kill more people than COVID-19 this year. That's not my opinion. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. Look up the data. Avoidable illnesses from not taking care of yourself, from preventable illnesses, from preventable lifestyles will kill more people than COVID-19. They haven't halted their commercials for it. Their target audience is somebody that wants to take every pill in the commercial, that wants to rush and go to get the medication as soon as, Bill Gates or Fauci tells you to, is people who just take 3, 4, 5 pills because then they make 3, 4, 5 times as much money. That's not an opinion. That's how it works. If the pills weren't selling, they wouldn't be on television. If the food wasn't selling, it wouldn't be on TV. That's where they make their money. If it wasn't profitable, every other commercial wouldn't be that. So, and if it wasn't that, they wouldn't get the money, their show wouldn't run. They'd have to go somewhere else. They don't have morals. They don't have, you know what? Since there's so many people being affected by COVID-19, and most of them, if they're not elderly, have underlying conditions, many of them, which is things that are preventable from the lifestyles they live, let's halt all of our horrible advertising so people live a healthier lifestyle. Do they do that? Of course they don't do that. So you're not going to hear about it on television. Most of these people are liars. Big Pharma probably bought out both sides of Congress, and Trump is really actually challenging them. And to my progressive followers who lean more left and socialist, you don't have to give government entire power over the health industry in order to lower the prices. That's a total lie. For instance, the LA Teachers Union, I had it in my last video, they want to open up schools when they get rid of charter schools. What type of public school says, we're concerned about kids' coronavirus health? We don't want to open up because we don't want kids or teachers to get sick, but we'll open up when we get rid of, police in schools and we get rid of charter schools. What does that have to do with COVID-19 health? Nothing. It's their socialist policy. They want to get rid of charter schools. If public schools are so good, why do you need to get rid of charter and private schools? To the progressives, wake up, guys. I know Bernie Sanders tells you this stuff, and Jimmy Dore and Kyle Kalinske, and sometimes they're good people. But getting rid of the competition, which is private schools that you're allowed to function on your own, it puts all the power into the hands of government. Oh, free college? It's government college. Oh, free school? It's not free, it's taxpayer, but also it's government schools. They're getting rid of competition to funnel everybody through government. Government healthcare, government schools. That's why the LA Teachers Union wants to get rid of charter schools. It's not to help people. Trump is trying to get poor and middle class people to charter schools. He's saying, here, get away from the public indoctrination. Go to charter school, go to public school. I'll give you a voucher so you can afford it. That's what Trump's doing. Get away from government indoctrination. Get away from the government schools. Go to a school that's not run by the government. That's what Trump's doing. The Bernie types and the LA Teachers Union, the more left-wing people, are saying we need to get rid of private schools and charter schools. That's not freedom. That's not progressive. That's just big government. So on that note, I just want to wake people up a little bit to there's pros and cons to having universal health care. There's pros and cons to having free college. But the cons are it takes away the competition by nature and funnels it all through government. So you can imagine how it would be corrupt. So when Bernie says he wants to lower the drug prices, Trump does too, but he doesn't do it by eliminating all competition. He does it, I'm not even sure how he did it. I have to look into it more. I'm going to read 2 more real quick and then we'll get to the comments. This one came, I hope he acts on it. He said, if Congress doesn't bring fairness to big tech, which they won't. I saw something real quick. People always ask me here, what do you think of Jim Jordan? What do you think of Jim Jordan? I like Jim Jordan because he's an honest guy, or he seems like it. But he was on the list. I saw a list of people getting money from big tech. Even Jim Jordan, it looked like, was getting Google money, according to the picture I saw. So all these Republicans, like Senator Lee, Mike Lee, everyone's like, oh, they're so cool. They're all sold out. They're all taking lobbyist money. They're all taking big tech money. And then they act like they're so cool in front of Congress. And everyone's like, that's part of the trap. It's a dual party trap. So I learned that today. Thank God we got Big Daddy Trump out there calling everybody out. But he said real quick, he said, if Congress doesn't bring fairness to big tech, which they should have done years ago, I will do it myself with executive orders. In Washington, it has been all talk and no action for years, and the people of our country are sick and tired of it. It's a risky move, but people have to understand when it comes to social media, they're playing the fence. They're saying I'm a public utility, and then they're a private company. They play both when it's convenient. If you're a public utility like a cell phone, you're not allowed to, even a criminal, you're not allowed to ban them from a cell phone. That's why you're a public utility. That's why you get extra legal protections. It's more complicated than that. You have to look into it. But they're pretending like they're a public utility, and then they're censoring all these people for way too overboard, not just little stuff, censoring hundreds of people. You're not a public utility then if you're doing that. So they've been playing the fence for too long, going further, rigging their algorithms further. You thought 2016 was bad when they were being sneaky to Bernie and Trump? They've gone even further because they lost the 2016 election. They were cheating then. Google had a whole deceptive strategy for Hillary in 2016. When I was following Bernie, they would show her superdelegates. They were making it look like she won when it didn't even start yet, because they added all her superdelegate counts and constantly just pumped out news and said, it's over. It's like we didn't even vote yet. How is it over? They were deceiving and purposely just showing charts and all these sort of polls and just making sure Bernie people knew, get out of the way, get in line, it's Hillary's turn. Your vote doesn't matter. Or if it does matter, we're going to make sure these superdelegates make it so it's even harder for you to win. And they just kept putting that and not explaining it. Point I'm getting to is it's way more rigged now. Susan Wojcicki and YouTube is rigging it massively. Breitbart, a lot of right-wing news outlets are just completely not allowed to enter. They put in these phony algorithms and say, oh no, we're not doing it, it's our algorithms. These are not fair algorithms. New York Times gets to go to the top, Washington Post gets to go to the top, even Fox News gets to go to the top because they're trusted right-wing news, even though they're not. And then independent people just get wiped out. And then if you challenge them, they'll take away your Squarespace, your Vimeo, your YouTube, your Twitter. In some cases, they've taken away people's bank accounts, not the tech companies, but the banks. This is like next level. And then the Republicans are like, China, we got to worry about Hong Kong and Iran. Focus on your own country. I don't care what Charlie Kirk does in Palestine. No offense, but it's like, we got to go to Palestine. Listen, Israel-Palestine is a complex, bad situation. God bless my Israelis. God bless my Palestinian brothers and sisters. But why don't politicians focus on America? Your job is not to worry about how Iran's treating people. Your job is not to worry about how Hong Kong is treating people. You're having people die from political violence and domestic terrorism. You're having people who support the president be openly executed, like that guy from, what was his name, Trammell or whatever, just got murdered in the street. This is becoming a problem in your country. You have people getting discriminated at work because of their ethnicity. You have people who can't even speak up about their politics or else they get dropped from the company. You have people getting wiped off of the internet for saying that fear is not good for your health, which is a fact. So who cares about, what these Republicans think about China? We're becoming communist China. And in some ways, communist China wouldn't allow all of this dissent. That's one thing that they actually do, is they shut down dissent. It's not good, but what I'm talking about is we have the worst of both worlds. They're shutting down citizens, but they're allowing citizens to burn their federal courthouses. I like America more than China, but I'm saying at least China wouldn't allow people to burn down their federal courthouses. That's a problem we have here. We're witnessing like a bigger problem than they have. So I'm tired of these Republicans just constantly pointing to China and Iran. Meanwhile, we're turning into a state that has even less speech freedom than them in some ways. And obviously it's better in some ways, but it's slowly losing that status. So that's my thoughts real quick. I'm going to answer some questions, but those are just the quick stories of the day. Some of the stuff Trump was talking about. You know, real quick, I'll read the last one because he also passed this bill. I'm going to just read it and then I'm going to get to questions. He said, "I'm happy to inform all of the people living their suburban lifestyle dream that you will no longer be bothered or financially hurt by having low-income housing built in your neighborhood. Your housing prices will go up based on the market and crime will go down. I have rescinded the Obama-Biden AFFH rule. Enjoy." That's going to be huge. A lot of the people on social media are going to freak out, but I think a lot of people in the suburbs will appreciate that. And I've seen it happening, where I was from, and in general, their idea, I can't get into it fully, but their idea is basically like, we're going to spread out low-income Section 8. We're going to force it into your neighborhood, force it into this building. They're putting it everywhere purposely, and their idea is, well, we're just going to spread it around, and it's going to make crime go down, and it's going to make people, it's going to be a win-win for everybody. But it's really not that way. In my opinion, it's forced. Even in the South, we don't have this problem anymore. There's integrated neighborhoods, but they naturally integrate and people afford it and people go there. What it's really been doing is, it might not be popular to say, but in a lot of places it's been raising crime because it just forces it. It's not free, it's not natural, and it's become a weird thing. It's very similar to the logic of instead of hiring the best people for the job, what they do now is they say, well, we want 75% this, it's the opposite of the American dream. It's like Martin Luther King fought to be judged by the content of his character. Martin Luther King didn't say, give me the job because of my skin color, put me in this neighborhood because I have to be there, and if somebody else qualified is not allowed, they get kicked out because of their skin color. That's not the dream. It's going to be controversial on the internet, but I'm guessing in the suburbs it's going to be popular because at a certain point, I see it even now, some people just want to be left alone. I don't care what Los Angeles does. I don't care what Portland does, but I don't want to be Portland or Los Angeles. And that's what they're doing in a lot of ways politically and even socially. They're social engineering, and then they say it's a right-wing conspiracy theory. It's like, no, that's what you're doing. You destroy your neighborhood, and then they start marching to your neighborhood and say, hey, we're going to protest here. I saw how you protested in Los Angeles. You destroyed Santa Monica. Maybe you didn't do it, but other people did. The police stood down. Who wants that? So it's the same with certain housing projects. It's like if people can follow the rules like everyone else, then it's fine. But if you're constantly forcing things, it doesn't work that way. It's like at a certain point, you're incentivizing people to not do certain things and achieve certain goals. It's like a bad mindset to have. And it's an experiment, in my personal opinion, that hasn't worked out very well. So I agree with what he did. I'm sure some people won't and will find that bad, but who cares? These are the same people that think it's okay. These are the same people that don't understand this. Then I'm really going to get to the questions. This is really it. It's like, if you don't understand this, what aren't you going to understand?
Since when is it okay to try to burn down a federal court? If someone went down the street to the Partisan court here, that beautiful courthouse we have right at the bottom of the hill, and started breaking windows and firing industrial-grade fireworks in to start a fire, throw kerosene balloons in and start fires in the court, is that okay? Is that okay now? No, the U.S. Marshals have a duty to...
So apparently half of the political spectrum thinks that's okay, and half of it doesn't. And then the same half that thinks that that's okay, shooting fireworks and explosives at a federal building, are the same ones who are going to cry about the suburban executive order that Trump passed. So maybe they're not so concerned with crime. Maybe they're not so concerned with right or wrong. Maybe they're, at this point, who cares the backlash? Because they'll give you backlash over existing. Your mere existence bothers them. So who cares? All right, let's get to some comments. How do people not understand freedom and liberty? I think it comes from privilege. Ironically, everybody's always accusing others of privilege. You have a lot of people, you're privileged, you're privileged. The ultimate privilege is not understanding the freedom that we've had in the last 20, 30 years in America. The ultimate privilege is sitting on a Twitter and complaining about microaggressions while you get 6 figures from Huffington Post to be a dredge on society. The ultimate privilege is going to school for 8 years, getting a degree, and writing, peer review pieces about, how your gender feels. Like, no offense, That's the ultimate privilege. In a society at war, in a society in poverty, you don't even have the privilege to think that way because you're wondering where you're getting your food, you're wondering how you're going to survive, you're wondering how you're going to pay rent. So the ultimate privilege is not understanding the freedom and liberty of America, and the people who don't understand it and the people who don't appreciate it are the ones ruining it. And outside of politics, this is just basic human nature, basic spirituality. If you're not grateful, if you're not appreciative, you lose what you had. It's just, you have to be grateful. You have to be appreciative. That's the cheat code in life to unlock more. Are you grateful for what you have? Then God gives you more. Life gives you more. The universe gives you more. Whatever you want to call it, you manifested more by being grateful, appreciative, and then working hard to the next goal. If you're not grateful, if you're not appreciative, if you don't work hard, you're not going to get anywhere. And then you're going to blame everyone else, and then you're going to start attacking federal buildings. So at a certain point, this all lacks room. Why don't they understand freedom and prosperity in this country? Because they're completely ungrateful, because their parents and their grandparents worked incredibly hard, and then they didn't have to work hard for the first 30 years of their life, so they don't appreciate anything. It sounds like what your mom tells you when you're 21, but it's just true. That's why they don't appreciate. If they had to work hard, if they had struggle, they wouldn't have the luxury of even feeling that way. But their parents worked their ass off, their grandparents worked their ass off, very strong men worked their ass off for hundreds of years and made it so they could just sit on their butt and order delivery food and complain on Twitter and go to bars and get wasted with their friends and drink oat milk lattes and complain about microaggressions. That's the ultimate privilege, and they're going to learn. It's not even debatable. I'm not even remotely concerned about. It's like these things are going to happen. The world is not what you thought it was. This country was not what you thought it was, and if you don't get it, you'll have to get it eventually. Reality sinks in eventually. Someone said a failed education system also plays into it. Absolutely. They're teaching this stuff. Like I said, the most liberal person I follow on Twitter is my old teacher. My favorite teacher from college is like uber liberal. She doesn't even understand that attacking federal courthouses is domestic terrorism. And she's educating people in colleges. I love the lady, but it's like that's who's teaching her kids. They're beyond, like, they're not teaching kids anymore. They're brainwashing kids. If you go to anyone's Instagram, you go to a chick or a dude who's like 19 to 23, most of them have Black Lives Matter, this, that. They're getting brainwashed. You're paying $100,000 so your kids can come out dumber than they were when they got in. You're paying money so they can get turned into communists. I mean, at a certain point, you have to reassess the situation and figure it out. The ultimate tragedy of the boomer generation is everybody wants their kids to go to school. My mom, my dad wanted me to go to school. Why? They wanted me to get a better education than they had. They wanted me to succeed even further than that's the American dream. Your kids do better than you. So the ultimate irony or the ultimate tragedy of the boomer generation is they forced all of their kids, these millennials, Gen Zs, whatever, you have to go to college. You have to go to college. You're not successful unless you force them to go to college, you pay all this money, and then your kids come out as communists. It's a communist indoctrination camp. I mean, depending what they go to school for, if they go to a good business school or they're around like libertarian professors who understand finance, maybe they're fine. But if not, if they're just reveling in all this other stuff, you're just creating a communist. It's not even worth going anymore. I mean, I went to school for 3 years. Almost nothing that I do, I dropped out. Almost nothing that I do has anything to do with the journalism school I went to. I went for 3 years. I didn't learn almost anything. They taught me about geology. I learned about rocks. They taught me about the print press, which has been nearly extinct for 30 years. It was all archaic stuff. Meanwhile, I'm in my dorm room getting 1 million views rapping to Lil Wayne beats. It's like, who's the real marketing wizard here? The teacher talking about, extinct ways of journalism, or me, I'm on the front lines. A lot of what you could do is you could do it yourself. And I believe in education. Higher education is important, but at a certain point, if they're just cranking out socialist and communist kids, you got to really ask yourself, is it worth it? In hindsight, there were pros and cons, but everything I've accomplished, almost none of it had to do with any course I've ever learned in college. I didn't learn this at school. I learned it doing it. And in fact, they did stuff like they made me write letters to Obama about gay marriage. They forced my class. This is a real thing that happened. Keep in mind, 2008, 2009, I'm pro-gay marriage. I'm writing why I agree with it at the time. They forced me, my teacher, who seemed like he was gay, but he said he wasn't, but it was a strange thing. Like, he was always just like, I'm not gay, and like, no one asked. He would say it like every week, and you're like, okay, no one asked if you were or weren't, but whatever. He made us write a letter to Barack Obama and say why I support gay marriage. If you didn't support gay marriage, he failed you. He didn't give religious Christians an option to disagree with it. He said, write a letter to Obama. That's your assignment. We wrote a letter. We were forced to agree with it. Even though I did agree with it, I thought it was weird. I was like, why is he forcing people to agree with that? And then he took the letters. It was like a mock letter. He took the letters and mailed them to Barack Obama. That's what he did. He told us to write a letter to Obama, got thousands of his students, forced them to write letters in support of gay marriage, and then mailed them to the White House and acted like it was an organic thing. This dude is a liar. That's what and this is 2008, 2009. I was at West Virginia University. I mean, what's going on now? What are the teachers doing to their kids now? You have to agree with me or else I'm going to fail you? What type of class is that? That's what I'm paying $20,000 a year for? These people are insane. I looked at my brother's rubric too. He was in some sort of journalism class. The whole thing is propaganda. The whole thing is like right-wing conspiracy theories. Half the stuff they're talking about are like factual things that I could prove in a 5-minute video. They're teaching my brother that it's fake news. They're inverting reality. They're literally teaching people the opposite of what's happening. And it's like laughably provable. It's what I do full time now. And it's like, they haven't bothered me yet. I'm sure they're going to try, but they haven't bothered me. What are you going to say about my videos? My videos speak for themselves. Oh, you're going to get mad at my doctor video? What part of it? Everybody likes it. I got socialists following the page, communists, Black Lives Matter supporters, because even they can't disagree with it. They go to watch it and they're like, what's there to disagree with? It's all factual. It's all sourced. It's all common sense. It's all fair. It's what you're supposed to do. It's what journalists are actually supposed to do. I'm not even a journalist, and I'm doing what you're supposed to do. What are they doing? They're losing their minds. The objective journalists are like local reporters sometimes. All these national reporters are like full-on psychos. They're going against every rule of journalism that you learn in school. You're supposed to be objective. And I'm not even a journalist, and I'm doing better journalism. These people are ridiculous. What are my thoughts about minimum wages? Eve, that's a great question. So I think the minimum wage is too low, but here's a difference in ideology that I'm actually going to disagree with the Republicans and Trump as well. I think they're doing it wrong. So there's two ways to raise a minimum wage. One, you could force the government to do it, but when you do that, what you're doing is screwing over businesses. So example, with minimum wage, I think it's too low. The Bernie Sanders and the progressives, they say minimum wage is too low. We need $15 minimum wage, $20 minimum wage, whatever. They force you to raise it. Amazon can afford that. Barnes and Noble can afford that. That's a dumb example, but you get what I'm saying. All the big companies, Subway, McDonald's, they can afford $15 minimum hour minimum wage. The mom and pop shop can't afford that. The business can't afford that. The restaurant that has people washing dishes for $12, $13 an hour, they're the ones who can't afford that. So what it is a good idea, but really what it does is screws over small companies. If they raise the minimum wage like Bernie wants to do, and you see it happening in California and a lot of these, you have businesses leaving by the thousands because they can't afford it for tax reasons that the Democrats do, and also wage reasons don't make sense for them. So I think there's a way to raise the minimum wage, but the way would be, unfortunately, something that neither party does. And this is something that Trump has a problem with as well, which is stop allowing so many foreign workers to come and work for cheaper. It sounds mean, but it's just basic economics. For instance, Trump and the Republicans, they greenlight a bunch of H-1B visas from other countries to come work in America. Why do Republicans do that? Do Republicans love Indian people? I think I do, but in general, I think they want cheaper wages. I think they're in with the big corporations, and they would rather have somebody come from another country that has no option. If you don't have a visa unless you work. They give them a visa to come work for cheaper. They undercut the American worker, and then you make less. And that's really bad for competition because it's not a free market. You know, right-wingers always say it's capitalism. It's not free market if it's not free. So an example of that would be if you have, If you have more jobs available than workers, that's what happened under the Trump administration. You had all these jobs, and then you had not enough workers. So that's actually a good thing. That means you have the leverage in the business transaction. Amazon has to pay you. This company has to pay you, or they don't have any workers. Then Trump and the Republicans come in and they greenlight all these visas. They don't have to hire American workers. They don't have to pay you more because they have a steady flow of people not only coming illegally, but legally as well with these visa schemes, so the Republicans and the Democrats could get cheaper labor. So to me, the minimum wage is too low, but the way you would really rule that out would be strict immigration, legal and illegal. Bring people into the country, but they have tens of millions of people coming out of the country to work for way cheaper. There's no way for it to raise, naturally, but that would be the natural way to raise wages and raise the economy. So the left wing wants to raise the minimum wage via government, but that's just going to screw over small businesses. And the right wing slowly, raises it, but then they just hire a bunch of, work visas from other countries to undercut the American worker. So that's my thought. And Laura Ingraham, Tucker Carlson, they've held Trump accountable for that. A lot of Republicans have been like, Trump, you're not doing it right. But, to each their own. That's my thoughts, though. Someone said that's why most of the stuff is made in China. Well, I think they just have cheaper stuff. They manufacture it cheaper. It's a real concern, though. But how would we get around that? There's natural ways of doing that, too. How could we get less stuff from China and more stuff made in America? Let's think about it. Outside of government regulating it and forcing us to do stuff, if we had pride in our country, if we had nationalism, what they hate, people loved America, made in America, I want to be American, people would naturally hire American stuff. And that's what Trump is doing. He's bringing back that mentality. I like America, I'll buy America. That's how you can naturally do it. What does the press hate more than anything? They hate nationalism. They call it racism, supremacism, whatever. That's how you could undercut China. If people look and say, like, now I look and I'm like, how do I get something made in the USA? I don't want to buy it in China. No disrespect to China. I love China. I love the Chinese people, Chinese Americans, Chinese. If you're from China, if you're living globally, it's all love, but I want to support my own country. And also I want better products. I don't want cheap stuff. So I look for made in the USA, but they try to stop that mentality because they don't want people to like their own country. If you don't love your own country, you'll allow a federal courthouse to get destroyed. If you don't allow your own country, you'll be silent when there's domestic terrorists destroying your country. That's happening right now. And if you've watched my videos since 2016, I've showed you how the media's covered up terrorism in Syria. I've showed you how the media supported terrorism in Libya. They've supported terrorists in Libya and Syria and all over the Middle East, and they fudged the truth and said left is right, right is left, up and down. You hate the terrorists, but you don't even know who's funding them and supporting them. There's documented where they're getting their weapons from. I told you for 3 or 4 years that was happening in Syria and Libya. Now it's happening in the United States, and who cares about it? Only Trump supporters and Republicans. How is that my fault? You're so brainwashed that you support domestic terrorism because you hate Trump? Even when I lean left, I don't support terrorism. It doesn't matter if it's a right winger or left winger. You can't attack federal buildings. You can't burn stuff down. So it's happening in this country, and the only people who are going to stop it are conservatives who love the country, a lot of Christians, a certain racial demographic that they seem to hate the most. Do they hate them because they're trying to make it equal, or do they hate them because that's statistically what's standing in their way from complete domination, what's standing in their way from complete chaos circulating? If there's no Republicans right now, everything's Democrat. Democrat House, Democrat Congress, Democrat President. Who's stopping this terrorism? Who's going to stop it besides Bill Barr? Not only do they not want to stop it, they don't even think it's real. Why don't they think it's real? Because they know it's real. They support it. Their news networks are supporting it. Their celebrities are bailing people out of jail. They know it's happening. So this is no joke. People have been so spoiled in this country. It's been so good for so long. From the 90s till now, it's fantastic. You got Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, movies, popcorn. Even the recession wasn't that bad on a global scale. Everything recovered. People have jobs. 2 years ago, more jobs available than people to work them. What a statistic. In Brazil, you might be homeless because you don't have a job. The economy is not strong. In America, that doesn't exist because there's so many jobs. If you're homeless, drug addiction, maybe a veteran who was mistreated, mental illness. There's real reasons. But in other countries, you're homeless because literally there's no jobs. Your whole family's out on the street because you can't get a job. That doesn't exist in this country. People took advantage of it. People are ungrateful. And now it seems like only one side of the political spectrum seems to even care. It's mind-boggling. So the irony would be the people who call other people privileged are so privileged that what I'm saying is a foreign thought that they've never thought of before because they've had the luxury to never think that way. But it's going to happen one way or another. And the neighborhoods are going to get less and less safe at the point where people are going to leave. It's already happening. People are leaving LA by the millions. Who's going to be left? Is it going to get safer? Let's see. Is business going to boom? Of course not. Where's Elon Musk going? Texas. Where's Joe Rogan going? Texas. Why? Cheaper taxes, safer, bigger houses, nicer people, not trashed, less homelessness. It's a no-brainer. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win. I left the city. Everything's a win. Every single aspect of life. Cleaner air, cleaner streets, safer, nicer. People are nicer. It's like there's nothing left. It's like any little pro to being in Los Angeles completely has been eliminated. It's all gone. I'm going to read this real quick. Abby said, I was born and raised in a third world country. What you're saying is true about the homeless. No, it's so true. And it's politically incorrect to say, but it's a fact. In America, when you have more jobs available than people, no one wants to say it, but none of these people are looking for jobs. Not a single one, because they could get a job very easily. I'm not saying they don't need help. They need mental help. They need drug help. But in other countries, you're homeless because there's no jobs. That's not a thing in America. Most of these people have drug addictions, and a lot of it is incentivized. They're subsidized. I talk to homeless people, unlike these liberals who step over them to get a Gucci bag. They're taking selfies. They don't even see them. They're stepping over homeless people to go to like the Supreme store and pay $300 for a t-shirt. I actually talk to the homeless people. I've interviewed the homeless people. Most of them have said, I'm actually here by choice. It is what it is. There's pros and cons, but I'm pretty free here. You allow something to happen, it's going to happen. You let people rob a store, they're going to keep robbing stores. You let people live on the streets, they're going to live on the streets. Where I live now, there is no homelessness. You know why? Because they don't allow it. They don't allow it. They talk to the homeless, what are you doing? And then they bring them somewhere else or try to help them. That's what a sane society does. They don't just let it build up and build up and build up. That's what horrible people do. Why are you letting it build this much? LA is like hell. I can't, leaving there has been the best month of my life. It's like going from hell to heaven. I'm happy every single day. I'm enjoying myself. How does that look? I put that on the wall. I'm terrible at home making stuff. I can't tell. Does that look good or does that look stupid? I'm trying to design / block sound, but I'm kind of bad at it. Let me know. Someone said it's sad there's so many homeless people today. I'll tell you what too, a lot of it is mental illness, and in my personal perspective, I can't prove this, but I think a lot of it is mental illness caused by a lot of these pharmacy pills that they're prescribing. Sometimes they help people, but sometimes they lead people to go crazy. Jordan Peterson lost a year and a half of his life. He's still not back to normal from overdosing on pills. So our whole culture has led to this. The homelessness is not because of economics, it's because of a mentally ill media and a mentally ill culture promoting mental illness and drugs onto people to an extent that's unheard of. America promotes and does more pills than the rest of the world by far. I think it's 25% of the world's pills or something. I don't know for sure off the bat. I'd have to look it up, but we have a problem. But none of these problems are covered by people anymore. It's the opposite. It's whatever. I'm going to read this real quick. Michael said, we have homelessness all over Hawaii. I talked to 90% of them. They're drug addicted or mental illness. It's cruel to leave them on the street. 1,000%. It's the overwhelming majority is mental illness and drugs. Some of them were mentally ill before the drugs. A lot of them were normal before the drugs, and the drugs made them mentally ill. So A overwhelming majority is mental illness and drugs. There's very few people, if any, that just need a job. But the reason I say this is not to make fun of them. People don't realize, like someone said, in third world countries, that's why a majority of people are homeless. There's no jobs. They can't get work. They have to live on the street. Here, it's almost always mental illness and drugs, and nobody's addressing it. Nobody's even cares. They're just spiraling, and it's growing. I know people that were like, yo, my cousin is one of those street people. He could live at the house, but he doesn't want to because he's doing hard drugs. A lot of these people are not even poor. It's like once you do heroin or do these crazy drugs and you get accustomed to the lifestyle, it's hard to get back onto your feet and get out there. But also, if you allow it, it's going to keep happening. In Portland, why are they destroying the courthouse? Because they're allowed. They don't tell them no. The police can't do anything. The mayor doesn't do anything. So it keeps happening. It's so simple. It's basic human nature. It's so childish to even have to talk about this, but this is where we're at. It's like childish, basic common sense versus people who just have lost everything. They've lost the whole plot off of all these social and political schemes that they've bought into. They've lost their ability to see what's right in front of them. It's like you can't even convince them that up is down and down is up, or the opposite. I'm going to read this real quick. Teresa said, I move people for a living. Florida is being invaded from New York, so I worry it's going to turn us blue. One woman actually said DeSantis should take notes from Cuomo. It's the most mind-boggling. If you love New York City, if you love Los Angeles, if you love Democrats, I don't understand why people don't stay. If Cuomo's so good, why don't you stay in New York City? They moved from New York City to Florida because it's not safe anymore, and then they vote Democrat. I don't understand that. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Same with Texas, same with Arizona. That's what's happening there. Besides also mass immigration, a lot of it is people fleeing from Democrat areas, and then they vote Democrat. It makes no sense. Makes no sense. I don't understand how they don't get it yet. They leave New York. They're like, it's getting safe. I got robbed 5 times, and then they're like, man, DeSantis sucks. I want Florida to be like New York. If you elect Democrats in Florida, it's going to get as bad as New York, and then you're going to run somewhere else. There's nowhere left to run. Texas needs to hold it down because it's happening to Texas, it's happening to Nevada, it's happening to Arizona, it's happening to Florida, it's happening to Tennessee. These liberals like, I'm leaving LA now, it's not safe here. And then they go to Nashville and they're like, I'm voting a Democrat with Taylor Swift. It's like, why? The whole reason Tennessee is not yet LA, it's not just... And this is the thing too that Joe Rogan said he's leaving to Texas and he said there's too many people. He blamed it all on the amount of people there were. It's not the amount of people. I know more people makes it harder to maintain, but if you go to Japan and Tokyo, there's way more people than in LA, but it's cleaner and it's safer because Japanese people don't commit crime and Japanese people don't trash the streets because they have a culture of being clean and they're not complete degenerates. So the reason LA is not clean is not because, there's too many people. It's not too many people. It's just the culture is degenerate. You look at every single billboard, it's evil. The whole culture is sick. It's disgusting. Everybody talks a big game on Twitter. Nobody cleans up. Nobody looks at the homelessness. Nobody tries to do anything about it. Everybody's got their priorities screwed up. It's not the amount of people, it's the mindset. So Joe Rogan lied, or he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's probably just afraid to tell the truth because these left-wing journalists attack him every single day. They attack him all the time for not being further left. He probably is just like, I'm going to Texas. But it's not because of the amount of people. It's not true. You can compare an area with 3 million people to an area in LA with 3 million people. You could find night and day when it comes to crime or cleanliness. It has nothing to do with quantity. It has to do with quality and the mindset and the culture and what they allow and what the police are allowed to do and the net sum of the people who live there. If the net sum of the people who live there is peaceful, it's going to be peaceful. If the net sum is degenerate, it's going to be degenerate. It's not a numbers thing. It's such a lie, but they'll figure it out. Someone said South Carolina is voting blue to remove Graham the scam. I mean, I know even Ann Coulter wants to do that, even though she's not a Democrat. Lindsey Graham is definitely a sneak. So I don't know if replacing him with the Democrats the answer, but yeah, he's definitely like a two-faced Republican. So I understand the logic there, but to each their own. Someone said the Japanese government cracks down hard on crime. There's multiple reasons, but yeah, the Japanese government cracks down hard on crime. The people are more respectful, but it's also like a learned culture. Like it's really, in this country, in my opinion, doesn't matter what your skin color is, doesn't matter what your ethnicity or religion, this is a place where everyone can succeed and everyone can live a happy, peaceful life. But it's not going to be a place everybody can succeed, and it's not going to be a place everybody can live a happy, peaceful life if it's not peaceful, and it's becoming that way. So in order to do that, in order to do due diligence to every ethnicity in this country, you have to keep it safe and you have to keep it nice. People destroy their own neighborhoods, go to red areas, destroy that neighborhood, make excuses for it, try to force the suburbs to take in. It's like, how about you just clean your, like, a rule for everybody? Isn't that what MLK wanted? Not treating people differently? Everyone has to follow these rules. If a right-winger attacks a federal building, that's domestic terrorism. Mr. Right-wing Trump supporter has to go to jail. If a left-wing communist attacks a federal building, that's terrorism. He has to go to jail. You know what I'm talking about? Just basic law and order, basic common sense. You know, the one thing that half the country wants and really, really wants, and the one that half the country is rejecting. It's such a bad mindset that they have. It's going to bring chaos and destruction everywhere. I'm hoping that enough people have woken up to this where they really make a statement this year. We'll see what happens, but you know, it could not be more obvious. It's never going to get better because their culture is like make excuses for any of this and then penalize the people who stop it. Who stops crime? Who doesn't commit crime? Who's there to enforce it? Law enforcers enforce. Nonviolent gun owners protect. If you go to we hate nonviolent gun owners. It's like, look at the areas where all the people own guns. There's less crimes than the city with all. Chicago has stricter gun laws. LA has stricter gun laws. Most of these, criminals are not even using registered guns. They're getting them off the black market. So it's like the people who defend against crime are being viciously attacked by the left. It's such a no-brainer to me. I don't, at a certain point, it's going to become wildly obvious. And if it doesn't, the whole system will collapse in on itself, and then people will understand what it's like to live a primitive lifestyle again. Can you farm? Can you protect yourself? Can you buy land? Because you're going to have to in about 5 or 10 years because there's going to be no option. The cities are going to implode on themselves. And the nice cities are going to be run by people who keep them nice, which is unfortunately you don't see in certain cities. All right, I'll read a few more and then I'll head out. Thank you guys for joining me. Thanks for staying too. I appreciate it. I had fun. And if you want to watch these live streams after, I put them on my YouTube channel and my BitChute channel, BITCHUTE, but they stay up for 24 hours and then they come down. Multiple reasons, but I'd rather people watch my more composed videos like the last one. Someone says, I predict everything goes back to normal in November. I wouldn't be so sure about it. I think a lot of people think it's about the election. A lot of it is about the election, but I think this president that's going to be set, it's going to have to be rejected. It's not just going to disappear. So I think it's wishful thinking to think it's going to go away in November. I'm going to read this comment real quick. Let me see. Sally, you're on. Sally said, I love NYC. I would hate to leave my home because of these degenerates, especially if all of them are just moving to red states to destroy these two. Yeah, at a certain point, people are going to have to stand their ground. You know, if you're from there, if you've been there for a while, it's going to have to happen. And, there's going to have to be a cultural shift and, a voting shift. But then also, it's more than just voting. It's like, to me, I have my theories of what I want to do and what I want to happen. But then it's like you got to hold these politicians accountable. People are starting to learn who they are, who they're getting funded by, and that's a good thing. So it's like vote and then make sure that these people aren't sneaks anymore. Thank you, Linda. Mark said, I'm tired of medical mandates. Yeah, it's tyrannical. No question. Someone said the only way it goes away in November is if Republicans win across the board. It's still not going to, the chances of that happening, I think, are pretty slim, but it's possible. But even if Republicans win, it's not going to stop. And it's okay, but it's not going away. You have every major corporation is against you. Every tech company, it's going to take more than just an election. But that would be a start, and then people just enforce the law. But we'll see. It would definitely be a huge blow and a huge statement. And if it goes the other way, it's the opposite. But I think it's going to take a little more. We'll see. Someone said, North Carolina is now blue. I've lived here for 26 years, all my life, and all of a sudden things got real. Yeah, I hear you. It's people don't understand how destructive their policies are. But they'll figure it out. Or people are going to have to learn, or it's going to get a lot harder for everybody in this country. We'll see what happens. But I'm optimistic, and all I can do is work hard, and I think that's key. Is like a cultural shift, and it's already started, and it's already growing. But it's going to take a lot of people doing a lot of good things, telling the truth, being honest, and showing people in the right ways what's right and wrong again. Because so many people have been scrambled that they can't figure out what's right and wrong, good and evil, true and false, and it's a big problem. And it goes both ways. People are too emotional and too attached to certain narratives, but we'll see what we can do. Ann said, I agree with most of what you say. What do you think about Trump 2020? What do I think about his chances, or what do I think about him in general? I think his chances are pretty good, but I don't know. There's a lot of like wild cards. The whole thing's a wild card. Personally, I hope he wins, but there's so many wild cards, from mail-in ballots to just everything they're pulling right now. I don't know, but to me, you have to remember, for me, in 2016, I voted third party. I voted for Jill Stein. There's millions of people like me who didn't vote for the president. And then there's millions of people who hated the president last year who love him. I have a friend who bought a black MAGA hat, and last year he said Trump was a racist who hated Native Americans. So people, the wake up is huge. I had a liberal friend who had to leave Los Angeles because her neighborhood got terrorized, and she started watching videos and realized that Democrats are categorically insane. So my guess is there's got to be tens of millions of people who support the president that didn't support him last year. I think his support is way higher than 2016, but also you have tech companies registering 19 to 25-year-olds who don't understand anything now because they're not old enough to really get to that point, but they're mass registering people, they're doing mail-in ballots. So there's a lot of pros and cons, but I definitely think Trump's support has to be way bigger. I have so many friends that never liked him that really love him. It's like they say, the Matrix, you take the red pill. Once you take the red pill, life is real. You can never go back to the Matrix, but it gets crazy. That's kind of like once you take the red pill, and I'm not even talking about just Trump, but with life, with the truth, with what's right, and get out of the deception and the schemes that have been. You can't see it the other way, and it's not for any other reason that a lie just doesn't work anymore. And it's once you identify it, all of their lies start collapsing. So I think, that's got to, tens of millions of people feel that way and have learned. And, I got friends that don't want to speak out about it, that are check off every liberal box, gay, black, dancer, that works in Los Angeles. It's likes Trump, figured it out. People that voted for Hillary, like Trump. People that marched for Hillary, voted for Trump. The walkaway movement. Myself, Candace Owens, Angela Stanton King, the whole black conservative movement that is exploded. Kanye West. That's got to have a big impact on people. You have young Pharaoh. A lot of intellectual people that are waking up a whole group of an audience, a culture that has never heard it before. I would think although it's viciously hated on, there's never been this much support for, conservative ideology in these categories. So we'll see what happens. But I think despite the polls, I think there's got to be tens of millions of more people who are going to vote for the president this year. Lifelong Democrats, people who are just middle of the road. We'll see though. They're going too far. I mean, I don't think what they're doing is as popular. I'll give you an example too. In the UK, we'll see what happens. But in the UK, it was like Boris Johnson versus Jeremy Corbyn, or they went with Corbyn, and he was going to beat the guy. But Corbyn's like a Bernie Sanders, and all the polls were saying this and that. He just got wiped out. It was the biggest loss that they've had in a long, long time. Because it sounds good on Huffington Post, it sounds good on Twitter, it sounds good in academic circles, but the majority of working people, the silent majority, which is like anybody that's afraid to speak out, Democrats can be vicious. Like, listen, Republicans can be mean too, but it's like these people are out for blood. So if you don't like Democrat policies, you just don't tell people. They think everyone agrees with them because they walk around like everyone agrees. First of all, even if you live in a Democrat area, go look at the voting. Go look at the voting of Los Angeles or San Francisco. It's not 100-0. Look at I think it's like 65-35. So that means statistically 3 to 4 out of every 10 people you meet is going to like Trump. Even in a liberal city, it's not 100%, but they walk around thinking it's 100%. Everyone here agrees with me. No, 3 or 4 out of 10 people, even in Democrat cities, disagree with you. Let alone in other areas, most of the country's red. So if you're not in a liberal city, the chances are 6 or 7 out of 10 people agree with you, or maybe 5. So it's like there is no, in their head, everyone just agrees with them. So the silent majority is enormous because you can't exist at these. Imagine if you're at a corporation and they start doing all this social justice and you say, you know what? I love women, I love black people, I love everyone, but I'm not a Marxist. I don't believe in communism, and I think the movement's like more about that, and it's destroying the nuclear family. You think you could say that to your boss? You probably get fired immediately and they charge you for racism. So people just don't say it. People just keep to themselves, and they walk around like everyone agrees with them, and they go further and further and further and further and get crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier, and more sane people leave their city, don't want to be around them, and go and vote Republican. So I know there's a lot of people leaving to red states to vote blue, but I'm guessing there's at least 2 or 3 times more to vote the other way. I'm going to read it real quick. I saw a video. All the polls are saying Trump's going to lose Pennsylvania. If they cheat, I'm sure he will, but I'm just going to read this real quick. I saw it on Scott Presler's Twitter. Let me see. Registration shifts across Pennsylvania show Republicans are gaining voters at 5 times the rate of Democrats. So Trump won Pennsylvania and Republicans are out registering Democrats by 5 to 1, but they're going to win the election. I'm reading let's see, blah, 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 blah. Of course, they're like, oh, Trump's doing so bad. But yeah, they're out registering, it looks like, Democrats. This is, I'm reading right now, this is since 2016, 164,000 plus people registered Democrats and 164,000 registered Republicans, 30,000 registered Democrats. So that's 5 times as many people registering Republicans. How are they losing ground? On what planet are they losing ground? I'm guessing a lot is very similar across the country. I'm sure they've registered a lot of younger Democrats, but I recently just switched from Democrat to Republican. I was a registered Democrat 2 days ago. I'm switching to Republican. I don't agree with everything the Republican Party does, but to me, I can shift them and I can make them stop being so sneaky and dishonest. But at bare minimum, even the dumbest, fakest Republican, even Lindsey Graham, who's such a liar, he's starting wars. I don't agree with 90% of what he does, but even he's not like, hey, let's defund the police and ignore crime. It's like, who wants to live in a neighborhood who acts like a Democrat? I just left the Democrat area. I'm never voting for them again until they stop doing this. I mean, why would I'm not a big fan of the police, but where I'm at now, people respect the police and it's safe. Where I was, no one respects the police and there's crime and trash everywhere. It's a hellhole. So You know, it's not like I agree with everything the Republican Party does, but why would I vote for somebody that can't even check off like 10 of the most basic fundamental principles of like surviving? It's like, no. They're like, let's allow domestic terrorism and just say it's a protest. Let's ignore. I watched what they did to West Hollywood. They destroyed an entire street in West Hollywood. They destroyed an entire street in Santa Monica. Santa Monica was beautiful. It was a little, you know, it was getting kind of crummy, but they're still closed. Domestic terrorists closed down an entire neighborhood, and no Democrat cares. These are not good people. These are not honest people. They agree with people who just destroy stuff. I don't see it. They're justified. If they're justified, then you live with them, because where I live, people don't do that, and it's fantastic. And in most red states, people don't do that, and it's fantastic. And keep this narrative. Yeah, it's so terrible. Don't come here. Ooh, Republican areas are so bad. Everybody's so mean. Yeah, don't come here. Stay in the... Yeah, go to Portland. That's where they're so nice. Yeah, for sure. Go to Seattle. Yeah, go to Portland. They're so woke. That's where all the nice liberals will give you jobs and stuff. Yeah, go there, for sure. I hope they keep lying about red areas so no one comes, and they stay nice and clean and safe and friendly, and every aspect of life is better. And oh yeah, Los Angeles is so nice. I mean, you drive 10 minutes through Los Angeles. Am I in hell? Am I in a third world country? Where am I? There's 1,000 tents. There's trash everywhere. There's people, you know, just standing on the street corner with weapons, and no one seems to care. Everything's graffitied. There's just grime all over the streets. Businesses are boarded up. Oh yeah, this is great. Oh yeah. Vote blue. Yeah, this is fantastic. I love it here. Who wants to be there? Someone said, I'm pretty sure old folks will vote for Trump, law and order. I know personally, I'm just in my circle, I know at least 2 people that are lifelong Democrat voters who are voting for Trump. Why are they voting for Trump? Because they lost the middle. They used to vote for Democrats for unions. Historically, Republicans are not as good as unions, so if you're a union worker, you vote Democrat. But they also don't want to live in a complete hellhole, so they're voting for Trump. They're tired of Democrats. Most suburban people, most people who live rurally, most people who want to live in a safe neighborhood, they voted because it never mattered. Mitt Romney, Obama, it's like, it's a joke. So it's like, yeah, I'll vote Democrat and try to get, Republicans might take my money away. A lot of people felt that way, but now it's a totally different dynamic. It's like, will Democrats just flood my neighborhood with people that I don't want? Will they allow protests? Will they allow riots? At what point will they allow me to even live here? It's like they're trying to take things away from me based on my skin color and give it to somebody else. People see it at their job. You know, they've worked there for 40, 50 years, and people are coming in doing a horrible job, and then you try to hold them accountable, and they claim racism. And it's not like they've never worked with people. It's like Black people, Hispanic people, they've been working for 40, 50 years, but the older generation didn't act like that. I'm hearing from my friend, they had an interview, a job interview. This kid interviewed, and then he sent him an email saying he was going to sue because he's qualified for the job, and they didn't give it to him. They were like, we didn't even reject you yet. So just because of his skin color, I've applied to jobs where there's hundreds of people. I've got turned down for 99% of jobs I've ever applied to. I've applied to over 200 jobs in my life because I'm a go-getter, and I've gotten like 4. So it's not about your skin color. You just weren't the person. And it's like there's so much competition, they might have not even seen it. They probably have 300 applications. They're suing for racism. Who wants to live around these? This is left-wing mentality. It's not conservative Black American. This is me. I was told if I'm Jussie Smollett or I'm Bubba Wallace, I'm a good person, no matter what happens, no matter how real it is. That's a generation that they're breeding. They're acting like Bubba Wallace is a fantastic person. Oh, well, even if what he said wasn't right, I mean, it still was a not. So, you know, they're still racist. Anybody who tells the truth is racist. Who wants to live around that? There's millions of lifelong Democrats that are voting Republican, because it's not about unions anymore. It's not about tax cuts anymore. It's about literally law and order and living in a functional society versus chaotic communist anarchists. Anarchy for them. They can be domestic terrorism. They can destroy buildings. They can destroy property. That's fine for them. Anarchy, you know, we don't agree. But then for you, it's communism. You can't go to work. You can't open your business. And that's what Marxism always ends up being. It's communism for everybody. You can't do anything. But for the privileged few, it's anarchy. They get to do whatever they want. Everybody's equal, except certain people are more equal. We're above equal, but you're all equal. You're all equal in dirt. We're above reproach. That's what happens every time they do this ideology. So who wants that? I'm sure there's millions of people that are lifelong Democrats that are going to vote Republican just out of pure safety. No, who wants that? Unless you're just confused by all their schemes. It's like, oh, they're going to do this for me. It's like, no, that's not what's going to happen. But I need some water. Someone said police unions are leaving the Democrats in droves. 1,000%. There's even reports now that there were going to be a bunch of police at the Democratic convention. A lot of police pulled out of the Democratic convention. They don't get support. They're literally saying it doesn't matter. 10 years ago, if a police officer gets murdered, Democrats care. Obama cared. Democrats don't care anymore. They're leaving them out for dry. We're going to defund you. We're going to take your money away. We might abolish you. We're telling everybody in the country you're a bad person. We're justifying violence and terrorism against you. It's okay. They're burning down police stations across the country. Only one political party cares. Guess who? The Republicans. One political party is lying about it. The Democrats. What type of police officer is going to support them? So you have most of the police force now supports the President of the United States. Most gun owners support the President of the United States. Most military, not all, but most military support the President of the United States. So you have a bunch of out of shape, delusional, mentally ill, communist, spoiled brats with umbrellas attacking federal buildings. And you have the police agencies, the military and gun owners and all the strong, competent people in this country. I wonder how that's going to end up. But nobody cares now because they're just attacking their own things. And Trump is trying with the federal agents, but at a certain point, they're going to have to stop doing this stuff. So they're building a coalition of really good people who are very qualified, who are very kind, who just want to live in peace. And they don't want to live in peace. So the gap is becoming more and more apparent. It's like oil and vinegar. It's not left and right anymore. Obama, Romney, who cares? Obama, McCain, who cares? Bush, Al Gore, no one wins that election. It doesn't matter who wins because they're both phonies. So this isn't left and right anymore. It's like good and evil are separating like oil and vinegar. And good is separating and evil separating, and they're disguising themselves as politics, but it's not politics. So at a certain point, if you don't figure it out and you spiral with evil, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get weirder. It's only going to get more confusing. If you take the pill, not a literal pill, but you take the pill of truth, everything makes a lot more sense. The chaos ends. The lie ends. You don't have to live in crime and dirt and degeneracy and homelessness. It's not how you have to live your life. So good and evil are separating like oil and vinegar. And it's not even political, but obviously there's a certain person in office who's actually talking like a normal human being. And then there's an entire political party that has mastered the art of deception in mass media and education brainwashing. And that's the dynamic to what's going on right now, among other things. And I'm not saying Republicans are good and Democrats are evil. I'm just saying they're good and evil are separating. And there's a certain political party that semi-understands it. There's a lot of sneaky Republicans, but semi-understands it. And then there's people just spiraling in evil. And I say it's evil and they get mad. And not only don't call it that. I mean, what do you call somebody that promotes domestic terrorism? I wouldn't wish it on Syria. I wouldn't wish it on Libya. I wouldn't wish it on Portland. I wouldn't wish it on the police. I wouldn't wish it on your business. I wouldn't wish it on anyone because I'm not a horrible person. So at a certain point, you're going to have to figure this stuff out. The social schemes are only going to last so long. It's going to collapse because it's not real. It's not true. It's like the kid who was saying, oh, Trump's lying about what's going on in Seattle. And then his apartment building gets torched. And then he's like, whoa, it really happened. It was already happening, but you didn't care when it happened to other people. And then when it happens to you, now you care. You can't ignore it anymore. It's going to get to the point where it's unignorable. But it's all good. Someone said evil isn't limited to a party. No, it's not. But I'm just saying there's a certain group of people that are trying to get rid of it, and there's a certain group of people that are spiraling in it, for sure. There's a lot of evil Republicans, but I'm just saying at a certain point, it separates and it separates, and if you get too political about it, you're going to get lost in the sauce. Michael Douglas says the political system in the USA is broken. I don't know who Michael Douglas is, but in many ways it's totally broken. I can't disagree with that at all. From Supreme Court down to legal local courts, the whole thing is broken because people have gotten too political. It's like right and wrong, true and false. Crime is bad, okay? And you have to protect your people from it. It's a real thing. You can't just be weak and like delusional. So at a certain point, the whole system's broken. Their priorities are totally upside down. And when your priorities are totally upside down, you're going to get upside down results. It's inevitable. But someone said, I would say Trump is more in the middle. He absolutely is in the middle. He did prison reform. Most Republicans don't care about prison reform. That's a left-wing / black activism thing, to be honest. Trump did that. Trump is pro H-1B visas. I'm against that. I guess you could say I'm further right than Trump on that. It's not, to me, it's not a right or left wing thing. It's a basic economic and American worker thing. But Trump does that. That's not really right wing. He does a lot of, he's pro LGBT. That's not traditionally a right wing thing. He's never been anti-LGBT, more so than even Obama, Hillary, and Biden combined. So he's not really that far right. They just say he's really far right. Anybody who disagrees, they're such crazies. Elon Musk and Joe Rogan are two traditional liberals who just aren't totally brainwashed. I posted about them. Some psycho blue checkmark journalist or whatever, he's like, Joe Rogan's a white supremacist and Elon Musk flirts with white supremacy. They're calling Joe Rogan and Elon Musk white supremacists. This is their map. Anybody who's not a communist is a far right-wing supremacist. Joe Rogan likes Bernie Sanders. He's just also a gun owner. He doesn't hate America. So if you don't hate America and you don't hate the Second Amendment, you're a white supremacist. If you're Elon Musk, he's who every liberal thinks he is. I'm saving the environment. I'm doing innovative things like Nikola Tesla. No, you're not. You're destroying your own neighborhood. You're not Nikola Tesla. Elon Musk builds rockets that go up and go down. And then he builds solar cars. He's who everyone thinks he is. He's just not a communist. So they call him a white supremacist. Why is he a white supremacist? Because he doesn't like communism? That's all. What else has he really said? Because he doesn't lie about COVID-19 and he tells the true data? Oh no, that's so scary. They hate anybody who's not literally a communist. Now, I wish I was exaggerating. What has Elon Musk done that's so bad to liberals? Just not acting like them, being fair about certain things, saying, hey, I agree with a lot of your policies, but like you're losing the middle. And they're out here calling it's nuts, but I digress. Someone said Elon and Joe are probably in on it too. I mean, if you're working with NASA, you got to be in on it to some extent. There's no question. He builds rockets for NASA, so. But I like Elon, I think, even more than I like Joe. I get good vibes from Elon. I know Elon is kind of sneaky with some stuff, but I really like Elon. I know it really bothers a lot of people. If I cared what other people thought, I would just pretend like I don't like him, but I don't know. I enjoy his Twitter very thoroughly, and I think even listening to him speak, when you listen to Elon Musk speak, I listen to his whole Joe Rogan podcast. I'm not into computer brains and stuff. Like, it's not my thing, but when he was explaining what he was doing, he was totally accurate about it. In my opinion, he's like, you could feel the authenticity when he talks. You might not agree with what he's doing, but he's just telling you. Like, he's not squirming. He's a little weird, but look at look at Elon Musk's body language, and then look at Bill Gates' body language. Like, Bill Gates, not a huge fan. Elon, I like the guy. I don't agree with everything he's doing, but I think he's like a Trump of the technology world. You might not agree with it, but he's not going to sit and run you in circles. Like, he's just like, yeah, that's how I feel. I'm going to do this. And to me, Elon gained a lot of points with the COVID-19 stuff. We were in the biggest crisis in modern history in our country, which was government shutdown with a virus. Elon Musk was telling the truth about it, not Joe Rogan. Not even Trump at the time. Listen, I like the president, but even he was wrong about it. Elon Musk is telling the truth. That earned a lot of points with me. I'm not going to justify everything he's doing, but that speaks volumes. When no one was speaking out in April, Elon Musk was saying this is fascism. I don't agree with this. He was talking about the data. He was sharing my video that I shared on his Twitter. That's pretty big. He didn't have to do that. I've never talked to him. He doesn't even follow me. He just found it. To me, he earned major points because, that was big, I think. But, I get a lot of people don't like Elon. Trump is the only one who showed Elon support. Trump is a very nice guy. If you're not a total psychopath, Trump can work with you. If your whole life doesn't revolve around hating Trump, you could actually score points with Trump. Be nice to him, critique him fairly, and he agrees with it. Tucker Carlson critiques Trump fairly. And you know what Trump does? He doesn't lash out. He says, that's a good point, Tucker. I'll think about it. Trump is an easy guy to work with. He's a nice guy. These people just make their whole lives about trying to destroy him. They're evil people. They're wicked. They're projecting all their inner demons onto him, and they're like, No one likes that. That's the journalism. Who does that appeal to? Other people that are lost and confused. Call Trump out. I can name 20 things I don't like about Trump, but it's not emotional. It's not chaotic. It's true. And he listens, and his team listens because they'll have to eventually. So with Elon left Trump's board. He said, I don't agree with Trump. I'm out. But Elon's not a total psychopath. So he disagrees with Trump 10 times. And then he just says one true thing. And Trump says, congratulations. Good luck, Elon. I hope you build some cars. Trump's a nice guy. He's 1,000 times nicer than any journalist who talks trash about him. They're horrible people. They don't try to uplift. They don't try to be honest. They don't try to be fair. They're like attack dogs. They're just nasty people. They're nasty to celebrities. They're nasty to sports players. Their whole life revolves around gossip and ruining people's lives. They're terrible people. It's like TMZ. That's the whole media now. All they do is stalk people, harass people, make up stories about people, try to ruin people's life, whether it's true or false. They're not good people. Elon Musk is decent. And Trump gets that, so he shows him love. He's like, all right, build your rocket, whatever. Alex said you can't live in hate. It's a terrible existence. You become what you hate, and hate and anger becomes emotion, and then you get skewed from the truth. And then you're not happy. If you're not happy, what type of life are you living? Anger is not the answer. Hate's not the answer. And both parties could understand that. Because if you live in this realm of just hating what the other person's doing, you become a problem. You become miserable, and you become, less accurate. Hate is not the answer. Passion is okay. Someone said he thinks AI is humanity's biggest upcoming problem. He thinks AI interface would be a better way. You don't have to agree with it, but that's definitely Elon Musk's theory. He thinks that AI is the number one threat to the world right now, or one of them. And he thinks the only way humans are going to survive is by integrating with technology. It sounds crazy, but he makes a good point. He says most corporations, Facebook, Google, they're cyber coalitions. It's some humans and some AI. My phone is disconnecting. AI already runs your world. This is AI. We're talking on a computer technology right now. So Elon's theory is if you can't beat them, join them. I understand it sounds crazy, but people already have prosthetic limbs. He's just getting ahead of the curve. I don't want it to happen, but I'll tell you what, I would much rather have Elon Musk there than Bill Gates. I don't want it personally, and I think Elon's the type of person, he's not going to force people to have it. He's not like a tyrant. If you want his technology, maybe he'll create something so good that you could put it in your, grandfather's head and he gets rid of Alzheimer's. I'm not saying for sure, but that's where he's going with it, and I actually believe him. However, putting a computer chip in your head obviously could lead to you getting hacked, there's horrific consequences of that. I'm not denying it, neither is he, but that's his theory. You might not agree with it, but what I like about Elon is he's very straightforward with it. You watch the Joe Rogan interview, I could just feel it in his soul. He's not a bad guy. I don't know what he's doing in space. I'm not sure that I agree with that, but to be honest, I like him. Someone said only because they're greedy and want to profit from it. Maybe, but I don't know. I think at a certain point, it's beyond profit. Someone's going to come up with that technology. it's definitely anything that you can make money off of becomes a profitable thing. But, you know, I don't know. I get good vibes. He might be a sneak, though. I don't know. You could disagree with me. I know people don't like him. Luther said, okay, how do you feel about Black Lives Matter? I've talked about it before, but I could mention it. Hold on. Sorry, I got to get that COVID out of my throat. Got that COVID, I got to get it. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have it. But technically, I could get diagnosed as COVID. If I cough and tell them I was around someone with COVID, they could technically, in some states, diagnose me with COVID-19. True story. But Black Lives Matter is a good slogan. It's a great branding name. But as far as the organization, they're a Marxist organization. Karl Marx was the founder of communism, so they're basically a communist organization who wants to push far left-wing policies and doesn't seem to prioritize fathers in the household. They don't seem to prioritize crime in the inner cities. They don't seem to prioritize 99.9% of the reason people are dying. They don't seem to prioritize anything that actually makes sense. So to me, they're using a great slogan to invert America and ruin it. So I don't support them. I don't support any corporation like MLB that supports them. I think the whole thing is a total, a total insurgency of communist Marxist ideology that's going to destroy Black America, and it's only going to lead to more chaos, demise, crime, and murder. So they could pretty much, I don't really have much to say besides, fantastic branding. It's the perfect name to deceive millions of people and raise billions of dollars for left-wing causes. Without Black Lives Matter, no one's donating to left-wing causes. Bernie Sanders makes money. Besides that, no one likes any of the Democrats besides Bernie Sanders. So they have no way of raising money. So Black Lives Matter is a perfect scheme to raise a bunch of money to an organization who spends it on communist ideology, left-wing ideology that's further left. They're dragging Biden further left. They're dragging the Democratic Party further left when the Democratic Party is already too far left. And then you have the progressives say, we need to go even further. It's like, good luck with that. We'll see how it works out. I got a lot of energy today. I drank coffee. I'm standing up. What do I think they'll get out of Maxwell? I don't know. We'll see. I don't really have high expectations, but now is definitely the time. If there's going to be a time they're going to hold someone accountable, they got Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell. Bernie got a fourth house. I know he had a third one. Did he get a fourth one? If people donate to Bernie 2016, he raised all that money, said he was going to fight Hillary, didn't fight Hillary, lied to everybody, lied about Russiagate, wouldn't even tell the truth when Tulsi Gabbard and Jimmy Dore told the truth, and then they donate to him again. He should get 10 houses just to flex on him. He should buy 30 houses. And then he should run in 2020 and raise another $200 million and say, I'm fighting the Democrats, and then endorse him again. Why not? So when is YouTube going too far with censorship? They're already going too far with censorship. How do we fight it? We'll see what Trump does with the executive order, but personally, I used to watch YouTube all the time. Now I've cut back my YouTube uses. I watch BitChute.com, BITCHUTE, BitChute.com. It's like YouTube if they didn't censor and go fully psycho. So I watch BitChute. I try to use other things. I obviously use Facebook, and Facebook has been good to me, so I can't really complain. But yeah, on a local level, I just stopped using them, or a small scale. On a big scale, I believe there's people who are working on lawsuits, and that's going to be the way. Legal pressure in an honest way. And Trump can probably do something. It's going to be tricky, but Trump could probably hold them accountable as a public utility. However, it's interesting because a lot of these Republicans are actually sold out to Google. I'm gonna show you this real quick. Ready? Everybody always asks me if I like Jim Jordan. Anomaly, do you like Jim Jordan? Do you like Jim Jordan? I do, because he seems like an honest guy, but look at this. Ready? Big tech donations. Members with tech among top 5 donors. Jim Jordan is getting paid by Google? Really? So it's a little strange. So a lot of these people are sneaks. I still like Jim Jordan, but why is he getting money from Google? And is that why he's not doing anything? Is that why the Republicans don't do anything? Is that why they just act stupid? Or only Ted Cruz seems to talk about it? He's like the only Republican that ever talks about it. I don't know. Maybe not. But it is interesting. I think Senator Mike Lee gets a lot of money from tech too. That's what they all say. So I don't know. It's very shady. Hearings go on Capitol Hill. Yeah, but it's just a drain. We'll see what happens. But the hearings are just so dramatic, and sometimes there's some good moments, but I just can't listen to them bicker and reclaiming time. It's like a nightmare. I didn't listen to a single minute yesterday. I had a good day. I'll stay for like 5 or 10 more minutes, then I'm gonna take off. I appreciate y'all, and if you haven't yet, watch my last video on the doctors, or watch a lot of my videos. I'll probably make a new one today, but I've been cranking out a lot of good videos over the last couple weeks. I'm very content with them. So if you haven't seen them, feel free to watch them on Facebook. What do I think about the end of summer sports? It's a joke. This isn't going to end until people, either they bring a vaccine and tell people it's okay to go back to normal, or it's never going to go back to normal. For instance, in basketball, in the NBA, people miss games all the time because of the flu. It's a very common reason to miss the game. Kawhi Leonard's out with flu-like symptoms. LeBron James out with flu-like symptoms. They don't even test them for the flu. They just know they're sick, and then they sit out of the game. So this is not an uncommon thing. The flu infects hundreds of players every year, and they just sit out. They don't shut down the whole stadium. They don't shut down the game. They don't make people live in a bubble. They just get the flu, and then they sit out and stay away from people. So COVID-19, you might say it's more deadly. We'll find out with the statistics when it's all said and done, but it's a contagious disease similar to a coronavirus. It is a coronavirus or a flu. I'm not saying it's the flu, but it's not astronomically high on the death rates. The point I'm getting to is their president says, we don't want any COVID-19. We're going to live in a bubble, no fans. This is outrageous. It's not like this is the first contagious disease ever to hit human. The flu, some seasons, kills around 100,000 people. It's a deadly thing for a lot of people as well. They don't shut it down. So when are they going to stop doing this? When a vaccine comes? Why? So I don't know. It's like they've changed the precedence of how we live life, and now we're supposed to just hide everywhere and no fans and no groups except for left-wing protests. It's like they get exactly what they deserve for being, Marxist sympathizers. They get a Marxist lifestyle. They live in a bubble. They get yelled at if they go to buy hot wings. They can't do anything. Oh my God, the Marlins player got COVID-19. All right, shut down the season then. Live in a bubble. Play 5 games. I don't care. I'm done with them anyway. But I'll probably still watch. I'll probably still watch the NBA playoffs because I'll be like, you know what? It's kind of fire, even though they're being annoying. But overall, I don't know. What do I think about it? The precautions they're taking are categorically insane, and it's never going to go away because imagine if they treated any other thing like this. Okay, 1 case, 2 cases, 3 cases, 4 cases, let's shut down. They get hundreds of times throughout the year, and they're never going to not do that because that's what happens when you have a league of thousands of people traveling every day. There's going to be people who get sick with every illness. It's bizarre. Lydia said, I'm exposed to the Rona at work and I'm doing fine. There's a pork plant with 400, 300 people who all got it. Not a single one had symptoms. Here's the uncomfortable truth that they don't want to tell you. Ready? I'm going to tell you. The people who are most at risk for anything, whether it be a flu or a coronavirus or pneumonia, is people with comorbidities, coexisting conditions, or elderly people. You can't change your age, but what you can change is how healthy you are. People that are overweight, people that don't take care of themselves are more at risk, not just for coronavirus, for any single virus out there. It's not healthy for your body to be at a certain weight and presentation. That's just a fact. Tens of millions of people, I think that the stat that I read last was over 10 million people a year die because of bad exercise and diet, things that are preventable. More than coronavirus die from not taking care of themselves. So if you really want to stop coronavirus without taking any medication, I'm not saying this is the cure. I'm just saying you're way less at risk if you take care of yourself. So if you're a fit person and you're younger, your stats are very, 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 very low to get killed by coronavirus. And it's probably not even that high to get extremely sick. Depending how bad you get it, you might, but the best way to save your life is to take care of yourself. And they don't tell you this because they sell you products that make you not take care of yourself. They don't sell fruit smoothies and good drinks on the television. They sell soda and they sell crappy foods that lead to diabetes, which leads to hundreds of thousands of deaths. So they don't care about your health. The best way to avoid COVID, whether you get it or don't get it, is take care of yourself. Have a healthy immune system. Don't buy into the fear. That's one way you could help it. And another way would just to be as fit as you possibly can. And if you're not, it's all good. Not everyone's going to be fit. Not everyone's going to be healthy. But at a certain point, you just got to live your life anyway. If you're going to take a risk, it's like climbing a mountain. It's not a big deal unless you make it a big deal. It's like, do you want to do it or do you not want to do it? It's your life. So if you're happy and content with in certain ways, or you have pre-existing conditions already that you can't help, that's fine. That's the way life works. God bless. Enjoy your day. Don't be afraid all the time. You can't save yourself from every bad thing in the world. You could be careful. You could take care of yourself to the best of your ability, but that's all you could do. You can't sit and worry about things that are out of your control all the time. So if you get COVID or you don't get COVID, the best thing you could possibly do is be in better shape. And I don't care what shape people are in, but I don't run around and tell people to get in better shape. You need to get in better shape. You need to get in better. Tens of millions of people are dying. Tens of millions of people are dying. Imagine if I did that. It's annoying. So what do? You wear a mask. And I'm looking at this person. I'm like, you're way more at risk just based off of how you take care of yourself. That's not me being mean. That's a factually true statement. So you're screaming at me to change my lifestyle. Don't go to the gym. I can't go to the gym. You got somebody that's in way worse shape than me telling me I can't work out. Working out is a health threat, but not working out and wearing a mask is really good for you. No, it's not. You might sneeze and block the droplets. That's great, but you're still at risk for things that are killing more people than COVID. So I don't hyper analyze and try to, make everybody else. I would love to save tens of millions of lives, but people don't live their free life and they don't want to take care of themselves, but somehow they want to take care of society, shut down LeBron James. LeBron James is not at risk for COVID-19. I'm sorry, but it's a very rare thing that's going to happen. If the entire NBA could get COVID-19 and probably not a single one of them would die because they're all in like Olympic shape. So I'm not saying it's not a bad virus, but it's like this idea that hiding from it and just eating horribly is really good. It's like, oh yeah, overeating is on the rise. Bad diets are on the rise. It's already confirmed by major news. Reuters reported it last week. That leads to more deaths. That leads to more diabetes. That leads to more heart disease. That leads to tens of millions of deaths worldwide. So you're increasing something by a big percentage that already kills more people than COVID-19. They're killing more people than they're saving. I don't even have to pretend like I don't know it. Look at the stats. Look how many people die from bad heart disease and obesity and things that are preventable. And then look at the stats of people who are eating worse. And then look at the stats of people who died in their houses in excess that didn't have COVID-19. Then look at the suicide rate. Then look at the economic impact. And then add up all those things that happened because of what they did and then put it next to the COVID-19 number, and you're going to find a number that's way bigger than the number they gave you. So something's not adding up, folks, but I guess people can't figure that out, so I have to live like a free-range slave for the next 5 years because you can't figure it out. Okay, let me go get my coffee. Oh, this will really help. Thank you so much. Thank you for the coffee because this really made me safer. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for helping my health. Yeah, definitely don't work out and take care of yourself. It's not like tens of millions of people die every year. This is going to do it, guys. Me walking into the store like a bandit is going to really, really do stuff. I mean, not how I take care of myself, not the food I eat and the drinks I drink, how much I work out, what I think about, my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health. That doesn't matter. Putting a bandana over my face for a minute every single day to buy some eggs at the store, that's really going to slow the spread of a virus that's already in millions of people and across millions of people worldwide. But you could go out in the street. Now, feel free, just go out with millions of people in Denver and in Portland and Seattle, and I guess you could commit domestic terrorism, and Chris Hayes is going to act like he's surprised, and MSNBC doesn't even see it. Gerald Nadler thinks it's a myth. It's a myth that it's happening. It's not even real. So, yeah, me wearing that, but you protesting, and you lighting Molotov cocktails off at federal agents, that's not going to spread the virus. But, yeah, you could be anything you want to be. You could be a unicorn. You could be 400 pounds. Just wear this and you'll be really healthy. I mean, give me a break. I'll just live like a free-range, animal for the next 5 years. Thank you so much for permission to go to the beach. Oh, can I go to the gym again? Do you mind if I work out? Here, let me get my weights since I can't go to the gym. Let me work out in my house because I'm not allowed to take care of myself, as statistically more and more people are not taking care of themselves, which is going to lead to more deaths than the virus. Thank you so much for closing gyms and making people overeat despite tens of millions of people dying worldwide from that exact thing. Thank you so much, Dr. Fauci. Thank you so much, Dr. Birx. Thank you, Democrats. Thank you, Gavin Newsom. Thank you so much, Phil Murphy. Thank you, Cuomo. Thank you, Bill de Blasio. You're so helpful. I know you know how great you are. I know you know that you're a liar. It's just obvious. I mean, how could you not know? These people know. It's exhausting, but Hector said, what are you doing? You're making me nervous. Why is that making you nervous? And then they'll be like, that's a right-wing conspiracy theory. Here, let me look it up just so I have the facts to back up what I'm saying. Here, let me look it up. Let's see. How many people die yearly from a bad diet? Whoa, right on NPR. Everybody's favorite hipster organization, NPR. These pseudo-intellectual liberals who pretend like they're not MSNBC, but they're just as fake and dumb as NBC. They say bad diets are responsible for more deaths than smoking. Global study finds. Thank you, NPR. Please tell me like my barista would. About 11 million deaths a year are linked to poor diet around the globe. Oh my God, 11 million? Wow, that's a lot of deaths linked to bad diet. That's all preventable too. That's a privilege of just eating too much and living in a country where you have access to that much good food. Let's see. COVID-19 deaths. Let's see how many people died from COVID-19 this year. How many people worldwide? Wow, 475,000. What is that? Deaths? 475,000 deaths. Let me do the math. 10 million, 11 million people die every year from poor diet. Wow, that's so far 20 times as many people. But people who don't take care of themselves are going to tell me that I can't work out at a gym. That's really going to save lives. How dumb are people? It's just so frustrating. As people are like, this is really bad. It's like, yeah, viruses are bad. The flu is bad. COVID-19 is bad. It's very real and it's very not good. Ideally, there's no flu and no COVID-19 and nobody gets sick ever. That's my ideal world. I'm not saying it's not good, but this idea that you could make people not work out, make people not go to a job, economic impact, physical impact, mental impact, destroying people, and adding to the list of things that kill 11 million people a year, that's going to save people's lives? How stupid are people? I've put up with this since March. I knew this was a lot in March, in April, in May, in June, July. This is never going to end. It was 2024. I'm still going to be sick. Well, maybe next year. It's like, no, there's going to be more people. And then if there in excess of people die this year, they're going to be like, look, in excess of people died. Well, maybe it had something to do with 75% of people were eating more and bad diets kill 11 million people a year. So if you do the math and you add 75% to that, I don't know, that could be 9 million more people. So you could say they died from COVID, but maybe you just killed them by forcing them to live an unhealthier lifestyle. I don't know, closing down gyms. Yeah, gyms are boosting in this country. Everybody's working out. They're on a fitness kick. Hey, let's take it away from people. That's going to make them more healthy. Yeah, on what delusional planet? The same planet that attacking federal buildings is like a righteous move and defending them is terrorism? Terrorism's not terrorism, but not terrorism is terrorism. Stopping people from committing terrorism is the real terrorism, but the real terrorism is a protest. These people are living in hell. It's opposite world. Up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left. Anybody who disagrees with me is a right-wing supremacist, and I'm just going to continuously lie every single day, despite how ridiculous the lie is. It's not left-wingers doing this, it's right-wingers. Okay, let's arrest the right-wingers then. It's the right-wingers doing it. Oh, no, it's us. So don't arrest us. So we don't want the cops here. But you just said it wasn't you. You just said it was right-wingers. I don't like right-wing terrorists. Let's arrest the right-wing terrorists, right? They're the ones setting the fires. Let's arrest them. Well, no, I just want to lie and not accept accountability for what we're doing. But I'm going to keep saying it, but I'm not going to allow you to arrest them because I secretly know it's not happening. It's like this is who these people are. Their whole life is a lie. What aren't they lying about? It's not even like, yeah, the Republicans lie and the Democrats lie. They're both liars, but at this point, liberal media, what aren't they lying about? Can you find me a list of things they're telling the truth about? It's a lot smaller than the list of things they're lying about. It's the same with find me the list of companies that aren't supporting Marxism and communism right now. There's barely any list. Even Chick-fil-A is like kneeling down and like kissing people's feet. It's like at this point, the list of companies not supporting this ideology is virtually non-existent. But we won't get into that. Someone said people are so sensitive if you can't get them worked up. I mean, I'm passionate. I'm not even, it's just annoying. It's like at a certain point, I'm just having fun with it. I think it's funny. Maybe it's not. I don't know. All right, I'm going to take off, though. Maybe I'll answer one more question. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys with the stars and such. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I'll read one or two more questions, now I'm going to take off. If you don't do anything, sign up to my free email list, stayintouchwithme.com. I still haven't emailed anyone this year. I hate getting emails, and excess emails are annoying, so I like to keep it light on the email tip. I'll probably use it some other time. Read one more, end on a good note. I'll read this one since I saw Yolanda. Yolanda said, Biden said he would use the local police to control the riots and the looting in a speech yesterday, yet the Democrat mayors are the ones telling the police to stand down. It's ridiculous. Well, yeah, Biden's trying to play the fence. He knows that most normal Democrats don't want the police to be dissolved or defunded. Most normal Democrats see what's happening in New York City. They see what's happening in most Democrat suburban people live in the suburbs because they don't want to live in the cities because the cities aren't safe. Most people know that, so he doesn't want to lose the vote. Of course he's lying. Of course he's trying to appease both. I'm going to defund them. I'm not going to defund them. I'm going to redirect funds. No, I'm not. He's trying to get the Bernie crowd because he can't lose the Bernie crowd, but he's also starting to lose the moderate Democrat crowd. So he's trying to play the fence and convince them that he's going to get the local authorities to stop them. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But at a certain point, this is why I like people like Elon Musk and Trump. I don't always agree with Elon Musk. I don't always agree with Trump. But I know who they are and I know how they feel. When you listen to Jerry Nadler, when you listen to Chuck Schumer, heck, when you listen to Lindsey Graham or Mitt Romney, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. You don't know if you agree with them or disagree with them because nothing they say is real. It's all a lie. It's all a game. It's all politics. So that's why I like people like Trump. Even if you don't like what he's doing, you know what he's doing. You don't know what Biden's doing because his whole life is anti-LGBT, pro-LGBT, pro-crime bill, pro-black, anti-cop, pro-cop, his whole life is a flip-flop. He doesn't believe in anything. He's like, what will get me elected? What will give me more votes than Trump? What's his ideology? What's his theory? What is he running on? He's running on stopping Trump. Stopping Trump doing what? Stopping Trump from doing what you used to do 5 years ago? Stopping Trump from actually doing what no one in politics did for 30 years? Because you guys don't actually do anything but take big pharma money and big agriculture money and big, military industrial complex money for, slowing down the war in Syria. What are you stopping Trump from doing? So I guess if enough people hate Trump, the irony is, Trump is so hateful. Trump has an actual agenda that he's following. What's your agenda? Hating Trump? That's your lifestyle? You're hateful. I'm not hateful. I have 20 things that I want to do. Keep people safe. Trade policies, foreign policies, ending the wars. Like there's a real narrative that we're following or a real agenda. What's Biden's agenda? Is he pro or anti? Is he this or that? he's just trying to beat Trump, trying to beat Trump from doing the right things. So how's that going to help? God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Appreciate you guys. And I'll be back. You know, we always have fun. The live streams are a little more loose and rugged, and it's a fun time. And in general, watch this on YouTube or bitshoot.com if you want to see it tomorrow, because it'll be up for 24 hours on Facebook. And then I like to keep my feed clean, because if you watch the last 10 videos on Facebook, you know, those are the videos that are way easier to share and watch. And as opposed to just being loose and saying what I feel, I still say what I feel, but I try to be as accurate and, have a nice presentation where this is fun. I like it, but you know, in the other ones, I like to have that nice presentation so it's easy to share and look and really get down to the core of what's happening, because it's very important. And in general, you know, you're seeing a skew right now. People are getting further and further away. And the question is not Trump or Biden. It's like, what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's false, what's good, and what's not good. And people are losing that ability. And I believe in the good in people. I believe in optimism. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to keep working hard. And, you know, I think more and more people are starting to get it. So God bless you guys. Have a good day. And I'll be back soon. Appreciate your support on every level.